Good morning, everybody. Here we are, another Monday where many of you are getting your weeks started off. I actually start my week off on Sunday, preparing for the week, and I move forward in that aspect. But I understand that Monday is, all intents and purposes, Monday is the start of the week for many of you. So hopefully I'll leave you with something this morning that will help you get your week started off on a good note, give you something to work with. I think that is extremely important that when we're talking about improving one's position, a state of living or existence in life, that we are actually taking practical steps. We're actually using tools, ideas, systems that have been proven to produce results. In other words, one thing I tell people all the time is, while in many ways I'm considered a motivational speaker or motivational writer or whatever you want to call it, the truth of the matter is I'm not. Most people that I encounter and engage who are in need of my services are people who may seek out my material are already motivated. Very rarely am I in a position to have to motivate someone. To motivate someone means to give them a reasonable, logical, and concrete reason to do something. In other words, you're motivated by the need to sustain your family. You're motivated by the desire to raise your level of living. You're already motivated. What a motivational speaker is actually doing when they touch you and they start to move you and you start to get this emotional rise is not motivate you. It's actually to appeal to what is already motivating you. And when it appeals to that, you're going to automatically be stimulated. Your emotions are going to be stirred. You're going to be raised. And we normally confuse that with being motivated. Motivated is simply having a concrete reason for which you are going to do something. We are motivated by a number of different things in this life to do some of the things that we're setting out to do. But if I have to meet a person and then I have to motivate them, that is a very strong task because, and I do, get me in certain parts of the work I do when I'm dealing with people who are struggling with depression. I have to provide them with motive on many occasions to even get them to the point of wanting to engage what they're going through. So there are times, but when we're talking about people who are looking to develop, to change, to grow stronger, to grow in a more deeper manner, to develop the capacity to build wealth, to do all of these things. Now we're talking about not so much a need to motivate a person, but a need to connect with a person and provide them with the tools that are necessary in order to accomplish that which they say they desire to accomplish. So I just want to kind of point that out. What we're going to talk about today is programming your mind for success. Now, I think it's Les Brown that always says that if you aren't programming yourself for success, life is programming you. What he's actually meaning right there, and this is a psychological fact, what happens is your subconscious is so immensely powerful in developing the capacity for belief systems, for action, for movement. In other words, while your conscious is what initially entertains things at a level that you understand it or that you know or are aware of, it is the subconscious mind that processes it, categorizes it, establishes it as fact or fiction, and then from that point on moves on to even greater and more in-depth levels of categorization. And so what you feed your subconscious is going to have a massive impact on your belief system, your capacity to reach certain levels in life, to do certain things. So it's immensely important. In other words, it's been proven that you can literally take, and I think I shared this with you on yesterday or day before yesterday, but you can literally take a piece of paper or a card or whatever and write something down that you know to be absolutely untrue And if you read it to yourself consistently and consistently enough over a period of time, your subconscious will actually convert that known false truth, known false statement to a position of fact. That's how powerful the subconscious is, and that's how powerful guarding your gates. Primary gates are your ears and your eyes, but you also perceive things through your other three senses as well, and that's important. But what happens is with programming, what you want to do in order to program yourself for success is, first of all, establish an idea, get a clear idea of what it is that you're seeking. If it's wealth that you're seeking, you need a specific number. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't change this number as you progress and you see, man, I can actually do more, I can actually have more, that you can adjust it. It doesn't mean this is an end all be all number. Once you get that number, that's all you can have. No, it's saying, hey, establish a number that you can look at and say, if I reach this number, I will be financially wealthy in a way that I can provide for my family. I can ensure the future of my progeny, so on and so forth. Then you come up with that number. Now you have to start telling yourself, having an image of what that looks like, start picturing yourself in it, but also consistently, what I do is I write it down. I write down the number. I write down how I plan on achieving the number, what date I plan on having the number by, and I keep it by my bedside. I keep it in my office on the wall, and I read it consistently. And the reason I read it is because I want it fed through multiple gates. If I just simply recite it, then it's coming through my ears. But if I read it, I'm seeing it and I'm hearing it at the same time. So yes, I read it out loud every day before I go to bed, every morning when I wake up. I read it out loud. I have it in my office. So I sit up and I read it out loud during the day. I'll stop and I'll just sit up there and say, okay, this is my goal. So by this date, I will have and I will obtain it by doing A, B, C, and D. And then I can adjust the plan. I can adjust the amount. I can adjust moving forward, but I need something concrete to look at because that's the vision that I'm going to create in my mind lucidly. Now, how do I program my mind to put me in a position that I'm able to go out and obtain and achieve this? See, it's one thing to say it, but the first thing you have to do is convince yourself that whatever you can conceive in your mind, you can have. And I'm going to be in this Mind Power series that I'm actually writing for the site. So it's going to be something that you can go and read, you can take, and you can have. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Creisha. Good morning, Byron. Good morning, Ursula. It's something that you'll be able to go to and read. You can take it, you can copy it, you can post it in wherever you want. And it's a Mind Power series, just basically breaking down how you use your mind to set your capacity to achieve whatever it is you want in life. Your mind is so powerful, your mind and your brain. And I use those two distinctively. They're not synonymous to me. The brain is organic, the mind is inorganic, but they both function in unison and in harmony with one another. And it's important to understand that. Well, the mind is that you have the conscious and the subconscious primarily. In some schools of thought, you also have the unconscious, which is completely separated from any type of consciousness. But the subconscious is that thing that operates with or without your cooperation. What does that mean? That means if you're not programming it, meaning you're determining what you're feeding your subconscious, that you're feeding your subconscious positive affirmations, repetitively telling your mind, repetitively telling yourself that you're capable, repetitively telling yourself that your goals are possible, repetitively and consistently repeating affirmations, those things that may not be as of yet as though they are. You're calling things that are not as though they are. What you're doing is you're programming your mind. Neuroscience is introducing us to the brain in ways that we've never even imagined. And it's showing that not only can you program your mind, that you can program your brain, but you can remap your brain based on certain realities, certain desires, certain functions. You can take a negative mindset that's prone to depression, and you can completely rewire it until it's that enthusiastic, that inspired, that focused mechanism that is pushing you towards your destiny. You're never locked into this place of suffering. You're never locked into this place of struggle. You're never locked into this place of doom. You can always reprogram your mind and elevate yourself. So actually what you'll end up doing is reaching a certain level of consciousness that is fed by subconsciousness, and they work not counterintuitive. They work co-intuitive with one another to produce this. Your consciousness can set the state of your subconscious, but your subconscious can also impact your consciousness. And I've told you about the reticular activating system, which is a part of your brain, which is actually organic, that will take notice of those things that you give interest to, those things that you provide, you apply emphasis to, and it will begin to highlight those things and opportunities to achieve those things as you move about life. It becomes a part of the development of your sixth sense. And I won't get into the sixth sense today, but it's a part of the developmental process. Now check this out. When you're feeding your mind, you're basically telling your mind what it is that you want. You're telling your mind that it's possible, and you're telling your mind how you're going to do it. And your subconscious is logging it, and it's hearing it. And at a certain point, it starts to believe it. This is how faith is developed. For Christian believers, faith comes by what? Hearing. So we understand that there's truth in that faith comes by hearing, that when I consistently hear it over and over again, my subconscious starts to log it as fact. That's why we have to be careful what we watch on TV, what we listen to on the radio, what we read in books, what we read in news articles. All those things have the power to program. If you think it's just me making this up, or I'm just a part of some small, you should read Propaganda by Edward Bernays, or read what's the book? Brainwashed by Tom Burrell. And it explains how powerful the information that we're being fed on a daily basis is in programming our thought process, our belief systems, how we view ourselves, the inability or ability to develop self-confidence. All of these things that are necessary to achieve in life are being impacted by the information we take in on a daily basis. So we've got to be very careful. And here's the thing: if you neglect to feed and program your your mind, your subconscious will program itself based on what is being fed. You got to understand, whether you're thinking it or not, you're consistently getting images, thoughts, and ideas that are being pushed in by external forces. Whether you're watching the news, whether you're scrolling down your timeline, whether you're listening to the radio, whether you listen to somebody tell you their sad stories, all of this stuff is a part of the programming process. That's why you've got to be careful about being around negative people, because the negative mindset, the negative stuff that they're spewing on a daily basis, that's why you don't want to be around hostile and hateful people, people who are always finding fault in other people, people who can never see the positive, always see the negative. Why? Because that's programming you as well. As you start to listen to that stuff, it's only so much of it you can fight off. You're going to have to, there have been studies that have shown that for every piece of negative information that your subconscious receives, you got to feed it 17 positive pieces of information that directly opposes that one piece of negative information to bring it back to balance. That's how powerful negativeness is. So you want to stay away from that at all costs. Now, let me give you an idea of this massive, unbelievable machine you have, this computer you have on the inside of you called your brain. Imagine you had access to every ounce of wealth in the world, every penny, every dollar, every ounce of wealth in the world. You had access to it, and you reached in and pulled out a penny. But yet that's what the vast majority of the people in this world do every day, by underusing the capacity of their brain to achieve the things that they desire to achieve. As a matter of fact, if a person is actually activating and using parts of their brains are going further than what the norm is, you actually have people who have become so comfortable with the norm, they will actually ridicule and scrutinize the person who is accessing and using parts of their brain and parts of this unbelievable computerized machine, this computerized organism. They are actually ridiculing them and degrading them and deriding them and everything else They're arrogant, they're presumptuous, they're pretentious, they're all these different things, when all actuality, every day you wake up with this unbelievable machine inside of you that has the capacity to work in conjunction with your mind to go out and achieve and accomplish the exceptional, the extraordinary. I mean, consistently. And you reach in and you grab a penny. You reach in and you grab a dime. When it's all out there at your disposal. Now, please understand, anytime that I'm talking about going out in life and achieving something, getting anything worth having, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm not telling you that if you adopt a principle that you're going to walk out tomorrow, you're going to be rich. What I'm telling you is you get an understanding of what it takes to do something. And we understand that these are actually laws and principles. When you read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, when you read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, when you read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, you start to understand that there's a principal law, a universal law in effect. In other words, I think the most simplest way I've ever heard it was by Zig Ziglar. He say, if you give enough people what they want, the world and the universe will give you what you want. In other words, whatever you put out comes back to you. That's spiritual energy. We may call it faith. We may call it energy. Whatever you call it, it's saying that I am writing my story by what I invest in the world and in myself. And that's the problem. Most people won't invest in themselves. Most people want things to come along. They'll want it. They'll say they'll want it. They'll come up, but they're not willing to invest in it. They'll want someone else to invest in them, but they're not willing to invest in themselves. How many times I see that? I can't even tell you. People want something from me, but they want me to give it to them for free. And meaning that I'm not going to invest in me, but I want you to invest in me. And I'm saying, and one thing that I had to learn is that you are going to have to establish a parameter that says I will never invest in a person more than they're willing to invest in themselves, or people will continue to come and take and rob from you without investing in themselves. And here's the problem. Anytime somebody comes up and you give them something for free, they have not invested in themselves. They're not going to value it. They're not going to use it. They're not going to actually take it and apply it. Then they'll go around bad talking it because it didn't work. You're going to have to learn how to program your life through positive affirmations, through speaking things that are not as though they were, to telling yourself that you're capable, to telling yourself that if you can conceive it in your mind, you can believe it. I tell people all the time that if you can conceive it in your mind, if it's a part of something that you can create through the imaginative process, then it's God's evidence to you that it's possible. There's nothing that you're going to, the natural dynamic motion and force of the earth and the reality of the universe is not capricious, meaning that it is not going to present to you something in one form that it cannot be manifested in another. So if it can be manifested within your thought processes, through your imagination, through your ability to dream and envision, then it can be manifested in reality. The universe is not capricious. In other words, you can never have something within you that you can conceive that you cannot reproduce and manifest in another form. And so keep that in mind. Anytime that your imagination is dreaming something, anytime that something is coming to your mind and you're looking at it and you're saying, man, I just got to have that. I want that so bad for my family. I want that so bad for my community. I want that so bad, man. I could serve this. I could give this. I could do this. I can provide a future for my family. I can. And you got this desire. That's God's evidence through that desire that it is possible. You need no other evidence that it's possible outside of the fact that you have conceived it in your mind. No other evidence whatsoever. Now, if in yourself, you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to be honest with yourself when you do this. If there's doubt, you got to deal with that doubt, and you got to deal with that doubt quickly. How do you deal with that doubt? You start to program your mind to believe. You tell yourself over and over again that it's possible. You tell yourself over and over again that it's meant for you. You tell yourself over and over again that if I apply myself, that if I remain persistent, that if I don't quit, that if I work for it, I thrive for it. I think for it. I scheme for it. I plot for it. Everything that I do within logical, legal, and moral and ethical boundaries, I shall have it. And that's it. You shall have it if you remain persistent and you go after it and you set your mind. Those things that we have not achieved yet is because we have not yet developed the capacity to have it, but it's there. If you can conceive it in your mind, the only reason you don't have it is you have not become the person within yourself that is capable of having it, meaning that you've got to develop yourself. You got to become stronger in confidence, stronger in perseverance. There may be some specific and specified knowledge that you have not yet obtained. There may be a level of spiritual maturation that you have not yet achieved. But at the end of the day, anything that you're looking at, anything you're desiring in your mind, you can have. That's what you've got to be able to understand. You're programming your mind, or your mind is being programmed by life. And that's not something you don't want to leave the programming of your mind to circumstances and situations. You want to control that. You want to guard against the negative influx of information, the influx of negative information. You want to guard against doubt being planted. So you've got to look at the seeds that are consistently and constantly being planted in your subconscious, and you've got to monitor that. You've got to plant the seeds of possibility, plant the seeds of achievement, plant the seeds of elevation and empowerment. You got to consistently plant those seeds, guard those seeds, water those seeds, cultivate those seeds until they are able to spring up and produce and manifest those things that have been planted. That's how life works. It's that simple. What you do with your mind. Think about what I said. You got access to all of the wealth of the world, and you're reaching in every day and you're grabbing a penny because you refuse to actually build your mind, develop your mind, challenge yourself to go out and do things. If somebody's told you it's impossible, you've accepted impossibility as a reality. There is nothing impossible to the one who believes that all things are possible. That's reality. That's not some made up thing. That's not some sideways quote to get you to think positive. That is the reality of it. The only limitations that you have in this world are the limitations that you accept with your own mind. Stop allowing the opinions of others to become your reality. That's it this morning. I want you to hold on to that. I want you to really, really invest yourself into thinking about that, because that's the first step in actually really becoming developing the capacity to achieve the exceptional, the extraordinary, the phenomenal, is by getting to a point where you've programmed yourself to believe that if you can conceive it, you can have it. And then you sit up and you start to work towards it. And then you make adjustments as you move forward. But what you have to do is, first of all, conceive it. Then when you conceive it, you make sure that you've convinced yourself that you can have it. You write it down. You read it consistently, definitely at least twice a day. When you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, and anytime in between. Constantly keep it before you. I keep a card with my goals on it in my wallet. So even when I'm not at home, where it's on the wall by the bed and on the wall in the office, I still have it with me. Now, I don't need it with me. I know it by heart. But seeing it, seeing it, the eyes are, to me, the most powerful gate. And when you merge the eyes with what the ears can produce in audible sound, you have this powerful force. So I read it to myself. I pull it out and read it. It's right there. And that's how you program yourself. Keep telling yourself that you can. Keep telling yourself that you're capable. Keep telling yourself what it is that you want. Make sure that you are able to develop a clear and concise image of what it looks like when you have it. And then you act as if you have it. You become that person before you achieve that thing. Always remember that you can never have something that you're not. You have where you are and have what you have because of who you are. Always keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind. If you want to change your life, you have to alter your attitude. Altering your life begins with altering your thoughts, altering your attitude, altering the way you view life. You change and shift your paradigms. You change and shift your life. It's all possible. Well, that's it for this morning. It's a lot to be done today. It's a lot to be done this week. This week is going to be a positive and prosperous week for those who will set their mind on having something. And the thing is, while you have this big goal that you've written down, that's the ultimate thing that you're going after. That's what you're looking at. That's how you're going to measure whether you've really achieved or sustained something. You also have to create these smaller goals that help you get there. And so those goals should be broken down into days. I break mine down into hours, and I break them down into days, and I break them down into weeks, and I have this thing I've got to reach by the end of this week. And so that's what I'm focusing on. That's what I'm going on. Now, the thing is, I don't always reach them. That's okay. You can fail forward, but what you got to be doing is moving forward. What do I mean by fail forward? Fail forward means I set this goal for 20 units to be moved by the end of the week, and I moved 17. No, I didn't reach the 20, but I moved 17. That's 3 more I've got to get next week, and I'm going to get them plus whatever I set the goal for next week. And ultimately, what happens by failing forward is I didn't get the 20, but I'm 17 ahead of where I was when the week started, so I'm still progressing. That's the thing. You don't progress on this steady pace where you're always hitting everything that you set. You progress on a continuum that sometimes will push you 2 steps backwards, but that's okay. You keep pushing on that continuum because over time you're progressing. That's what you want to see in everything that you're doing to build yourself, to develop yourself, to grow, is to see this continuous progression on this continuum of life as you move towards your destiny. That's what's important. As I always tell you guys, I love you to death. As I always tell you guys, I'm on a down E. I'm going to down empty. I'm not leaving anything behind. I refuse to send anything to the grave undone. That's not how I'm going to do it. I'm going to invest myself in everything that the day demands of me. And I'm going to leave that day having spent myself for that day, requiring the night to recuperate, to rejuvenate, to replenish, and come back and do it the next day. I'm living every day as if it was my last, so that if any time I should leave this place, I will have died on E. I love you guys. It's been great. Have an awesome day. Remember, if something happens that throws you off, if you get a negative mindset, if you start feeling down, if you start to feeling a depressed weight come on you, press the reset button. Start it over. You can start your day over at any point, but you don't want to carry that negative mindset, that negative feeling, that heavy weight of negativity around with you the remainder of the day. You can't. You wake up in the morning, start it off right. If something happens during the day, and it can happen, get bad news, something doesn't go the way you want it to go. No telling what happened. Reset. Get started over again. Give yourself a restart and get set to go out and accomplish and attack life. You're in control. Life is not happening to you. It's responding to you. I'm out of here. Peace.